My name is Aleksandra Domanović. I'm an artist. I was born in Novi Sad, which is today Serbia. Back then it was Yugoslavia. I grew up in Slovenia, and now I'm based in Berlin, Germany. I grew up at a time where internet entered, and I grew up at a time when Yugoslavia fell apart. And those two events really marked who I am and also my artistic practice. Especially through internet, I found space for expression and reaching other people. And the references to Yugoslavia is just very autobiographic in a way, but when I use autobiography, it's like biography of the space where I come from that I find so interesting, because I was so young when the country fell apart. I was 11, that a lot of things are not clear to me, and I'm still finding exciting or interesting to go and find out what happened. So Canopy Collapse is my survey show and also my first solo in Scandinavia, and it really traces the last 15 years of my work and shows the connections between different individual works, projects, and so on. And I think my works are very connected. I always draw some topic from a previous work and connect it to a new one, and I think it shows nicely this development. On November 1st, 2024, a concrete canopy of the Novi Sad central train station collapsed at noon and killed 16 people. And that was the moment that galvanized people in Serbia to go out on the streets and protest the corrupt government. It led to the biggest ever student protests in the history of the country. And these protests are going on till today. And I wanted to do something to basically also use my show to give space to this issue, which I find is underreported in the media in the world and Europe. And also I wanted to do something to commemorate these victims. So I made an installation of 16 paper stacks, which is a format that I developed a while ago that I've been using in my work. And on the paper stacks, you can see images from the student protests. This is a type of sculpture that I make that exists in between states. So these sculptures are PDF files and that are printed out and stacked up. So they kind of exist both online and offline. I find inspiration for a lot of my work or topics by reading the news. So I was reading news online, and around 2015, 16, there was a big news story about CRISPR, the revolutionary gene editing technology. And I found it very exciting that it was two women leading the field. So I was firstly interested in them, and then through going to a public panel where CRISPR was discussed, heard about bulls without horns, which was gene editing being applied on cattle. And I found a scientist based in UC California, Alison Van Nieneman, who was working with these two bulls that were first bulls to be genetically edited to grow no horns. So I went to UC Davis and talked to Alison, made interviews with her, and also photographed these bulls. Yeah, a lot of times in my art, when I work with the internet, I consider internet as a public space. Because I grew up pre-internet, so I know both worlds. I know pre- and post-internet. And when we talk about autobiography, it's not my singular me, but like all of us. Like what were the technological changes we all went through, or what was public space before and what is public space today. In the case of 1930, I tried putting together two collective experiences that were important to me. One is watching TV news live, and the other is going to techno parties and enjoying electronic dance music together. I found out about the Belgrade Hand when I was researching the history of the Yugoslav internet. And one of the pioneers of Yugoslav internet, a scientist called Borka Jerman Blažić, she told me about this hand, which she said, oh, you must know about the cybernetic hand from Belgrade, which I didn't, and I thought that sounded already very interesting. And then I found that it was a very important hand in history of prosthetics and history of robotics, because it was the first 5-fingered prosthesis with a sense of touch. So it was connected to patients' muscles, and it would take electronic impulses from there and translate them into movement. First, I made animations with it, and I used it in my videos. And most recently, I made one out of bronze, and this was on a public work of art in Berlin called Admiral und Doppelgänger, and it's in Kreuzberg where I live, so I would be passing this public monument a lot, and I noticed that it was missing a hand. And then I waited about a year I thought the city might replace it or do something, but they didn't, so I gave this statue a prosthetic. Turbo sculpture is a video essay that I've been working on since 2008, and it follows this trend that I started seeing in the news or online mostly about erecting monuments to Western celebrities in the Western Balkans or in former Yugoslavia that have nothing really to do with the region. And I first found out about the statue of Bruce Lee that was, I think, unveiled 2007 in Mostar in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And then after that, it started almost like this one. The Bruce Lee started a wave of similar ventures, but maybe a little bit more grassroots initiatives. A lot of people say that because of the wars in the 90s, there are no heroes to erect monuments to in the region. So erecting them to these pop culture personas, is the answer, or kind of. And there are two ways of looking at it. Some people say, oh, this is a healthy way of rejecting nationalism. My reading would more be that this is a way of not dealing with the bloody history of the Balkans or the complicated history of the Balkans. And it's a way of escaping the past.